It's wonderful to be with all of you today. As he said, my name is Savannah, and I am a research director at Barna Group. We are a Christian market research company, and we exist to provide the church with knowledge to navigate a changing world. That's why we exist. So I am thrilled to be with you all today. I believe the primary audience I'm speaking to today are strategists who are looking to serve the local church. So I'm very excited to tailor our content today to meet your needs as strategists. And we would love to partner with you and encourage you in your mission to provide the church with help so they can navigate a changing world too. So we're in this together. So I've got about 20 minutes of content to share. And I will be throwing out questions or ideas throughout the presentation. And the best way that we can learn is from each other. But we're going to talk about the state of the church and what we've learned. And I am actually not going to formally share my screen. I'm just going to stay in this view of PowerPoint because I'm going to plan to use my mouse to walk you through the slides today. So we'll keep this organic and informal. But today we're really going to be talking about two things. One is the hybrid church of the future, and second is what the healthy church of the future. We are getting asked questions about these two topics right now more than any other topic. So what does it look like to have a church that is both digital and in person? What have we learned during this pandemic that we will carry with us into the future? And then also, what does it look like for us to be healthy and to pursue health in this pandemic and beyond as well? What does it even mean to what does it mean to be healthy, and how can we be healthy? Sorry, for the hosts that are letting people into the meeting, I keep getting put on mute. So if you guys could maybe keep your eye on that, that'd be great. And I'll keep my eye on that as well. So let's go ahead and get started. The hybrid church of the future. So when we say hybrid, what do we mean? Hybrid means a ministry style that is a blend of in-person and digital. So we have done a lot of research over the course of the pandemic looking to see what is the church of the future. And what we found is that it is most likely going to be a hybrid church. Things will not completely return back to quote unquote normal, as some people are saying, because 52% of churched adults, so churchgoers, say that they are more open now to the idea of digital ministry than they were before the pandemic. So eyes have been opened, minds have been opened. You know, that's half of church adults say that they're very open to doing digital ministry now when perhaps they weren't before. So with this new perspective, we step into the future knowing that there will be digital components of what we are wanting to do together. So I'm going to share some insights today from a recent publication we just came out with in October of 2020 called 6 Questions About the Future of the Hybrid Church. So I'm going to give you a handful of insights, and I would certainly encourage you to go check out this publication. You can find it in our store at barna.com if you would like to learn more. But here are just a handful of insights for you today. Firstly, there seems to be a warmth to digital and hybrid ministry. So people are asking Barna, is it going well? How are people feeling? What are people wanting? And our research has shown that in this moment in time, because of the pandemic, but also because we have more technology in our hands now than ever before, right? There seems to be a warmth to digital and hybrid ministry. So here's a data point to share with you. After the COVID-19 pandemic, what kind of church service gathering will fit your lifestyle the best? So we asked all churched adults, and you'll see that we've broken this data point down by generation. And I want to draw our attention to this item right here, looking at churched millennials. So these are people from 23 to about 35. So that's the age span of millennials. And we see that 42% of them say that after the pandemic, primarily physical gatherings will fit their lifestyle the best. But 40% say both, meaning that they want to have a hybrid experience and a hybrid engagement option offered to them following the pandemic. So there's this warmth to digital ministry. People are saying, I would like to have a hybrid solution offered to me, okay? So that is what the people are wanting. So as we're serving churches, we need to hear the voice of the congregant in this data, right? And know what they're looking for and what they are wanting. But what does this data point also show us? It shows us that a preference for physical worship is still strong, especially with the boomers, right? When we're talking about older generations, they most certainly still are going to prefer physical worship gatherings. But all in all, we still see this preference, even across the spectrum generationally. Here's another data point to show us what we mean by this. We asked church adults experiencing God in a church service alongside others in person, is that important to you? And 81% said yes. So what have we learned during this pandemic? There are components and aspects of a physical worship gathering that are irreplaceable. It's amazing that we as the local church have innovated and grown and found digital solutions for leading our people, for gathering our people together, for discipling our people. And now is the question to ask, okay, what am I going to carry with me beyond this pandemic? Because we don't, there are things that we want to carry with us after this experience, right? But we must remember that there remains a preference for the physical. So this is an encouraging data point for many leaders to see that people are still believing that gathering together is important. Another data point for us, pastors developing hybrid ministry approaches need to extend beyond streamed services. So for all of the strategists or church leaders on this call, I invite you to drop into the chat feature right now. What are some innovative ways that you have seen church leaders extend beyond streamed services? So the question is, can digital ministry be more than a sermon? Should digital ministry be more than a live streamed sermon, right? Should a digital experience within the local church extend beyond just a Sunday? Well, the data suggests that the answer should be yes, that it should extend beyond stream services. We saw in our research that after the pandemic, 63% of church adults believe churches should use digital resources for purposes of spiritual formation and discipleship. So continue to use that chat feature. What are some ways that you have seen churches use digital resources for spiritual formation and discipleship? There have been so many innovative pastors that have grown tremendously in this area. So let's share some ideas with each other, all right? But we really need to challenge ourselves to move beyond stream services and think about digital spiritual formation. Why? Because as we listen to the voices of the congregants, they tell us that this is what they're wanting. This is what they're looking for. And what about digital evangelism? So we ended up releasing a whole publication on this in November, because it was going to just be one facet of our exploration of the future of the digital church. But we found that spiritual conversations and leading people to Christ and even just giving gospel presentations in digital settings, that's a whole topic that we need to dive deep into on its own. And so we decided to do its own publication. But there was really one key finding from this study that rose above all the others that I want to share with you today. Hopefully this will be helpful as you are thinking about the future of evangelism and what it looks like to do that in a digital setting. Barna research that we conducted during this pandemic, it suggested that there's more openness to exploring unanswered questions about faith in a more relational environment. So the invitational model, just to be blunt, is not working really well in a digital setting. I know that a lot of pastors are like, oh, well, we're streaming our service online, so all the curious people in my community or the non-believers in my community can log on and watch. We went into the field, we surveyed non-Christians and people who are unchurched and asked them, are you doing that? Are you interested in attending a church service online? And only a handful said yes. Only a handful admitted that they are open to the typical invitational model of church in a digital setting, which was very surprising. And so when we saw that there actually is not as much openness as perhaps we were anticipating with that model, then we asked the question, well, where is there openness? What are these unchurched or these non-Christians, what are they open to? And we found that in digital spaces, relational environments are key. Why? Because they feel safe. Why? Because they allow for dialogue. And just the moment in time that we find ourselves in, that is what people are looking for. So here are 2 data points to share this with you. So the orange bars right here are the agree bars. And we see that we've got non-Christians here and non-Christians here. We see that 1 in 3 non-Christians say, I feel less judged in digital conversation forums. That's pretty powerful, 1 in 3. I am more open to talking online with people who think differently than me about things like politics, religion, than I would be in person. About 1 in 3, again, agree with that statement. So what does this tell us? Relational environments feel safe digitally. And that's really important. So as we're helping churches and growing churches, we need to keep our eye on that. We need to remember and know that, that as we're doing evangelism digitally, we have got to cultivate these relational environments if we want to be successful. So as we close out this idea of what is the hybrid church going to look like in the future, we just spent some time talking about evangelism and doing that digitally. We spent some time talking about discipleship digitally, the fact that Christians are looking for these types of digital solutions, even beyond the pandemic. They want to be offered a hybrid church solution. They're saying that that's what they want in the future. We know that there's a lot of growth that needs to happen between here and there. There's a lot of growth. But the good news is that our congregants are telling us, I want to be coached. I want to grow in this way. If you're asking me to step into a spiritual conversation with a non-Christian in a digital environment, help me do that better. Especially these younger churched Christians, 67% of Gen Z, 66% of millennials. That's the majority, guys. That's the majority of people saying, give me tools, give me tools, give me tools. So as we're helping local churches, we need to be giving them tools that they can give to their people, right? That's a beautiful blessing that we can give to these churches that we're serving. People need tools. So my question to you is, do you have tools? Let's use the chat feature again. Do you have tools? This is specifically a data point about evangelism, but just in general, what tools are you giving local churches so that they can enhance their digital strategy? Let's grow the confidence of our people by putting tools in their hands, right? So feel free to drop some ideas of helpful tools in the chat feature so we can learn from each other. Great. So I've got about 7 or 8 minutes left of time to spend with you all. And so I'm going to close us with this idea of what is a healthy church after this pandemic. What does health even mean? What does it look like? I think a lot of us, even organizationally, had to reevaluate in the pandemic. If not all of us had to reevaluate how we define health. It used to be, bottoms in seats, and that's no longer the case. So right now we're seeing people say that how many chat feature comments there are during the course of a service, that dictates how healthy or how vibrant the engagement is with the local church. That's a metric that people are using. So as we begin to transition out of this pandemic and back to normal life, what does a healthy church look like in the future? So I hope to answer this question for you today. And as strategists, as consultants, I want to put this tool in your hands for real. What is the best gift that we can give local churches right now? The best gift that we can give them is the ability to see clearly. This is a very biblical principle. I'm just throwing some scriptures up on the screen so that we can ground ourselves in the fact that all throughout scripture, this idea of seeing clearly or measuring things to see clearly, inspecting things. We see this right here. Inspect the walls of Jerusalem. Go look over the land, right? This idea of stretching ourselves to see clearly is very biblical. And Barna believes, after we've been conducting a lot of research, we believe that as we move from now and this moment in time into the future, we need to be stretching ourselves to see even more clearly. So if you were to ask me then, all right, great. So that's the gift that we can give leaders. We need to help them see clearly. What do they need to be seeing clearly? Here is my answer. I've got two things that I think that I would argue pastors need to be able to see clearly right now, and that Barna data suggests pastors need to see clearly right now. And the first is overall well-being. If we are still just pastoring our people and caring about their spiritual lives only, we're behind. We need to be thinking about our people holistically, especially in the middle of this pandemic. We need to be thinking about their mental health. We need to be thinking about their financial situation, and we need to be shepherding their whole lives, not just their spiritual lives. So in order to get leaders to shepherd well and to shepherd people holistically, they need to see well. They need to see people holistically. Okay. So if you were to say, all right, great, then what does overall well-being even mean? I would argue, and Barna data would suggest, that overall well-being is it's these 5 things that I'm about to show you. This is what we have got to keep our eyes on. This is what we need to see clearly if we want to lead well now and in the future. We at Barna call these the 5 dimensions of flourishing people. So we've got to keep our eyes on people's faith, relationships, vocation, finances, physical and mental health. Take a screen grab of this slide. Let's capture this, and I want to give you a little bit of homework. So I want to ask you, how would you recommend that a pastor lead all of these 5 areas? What does it look like for a pastor to lead in the area of vocation and to shepherd well in the area of vocation? What does it look like for pastors to shepherd well in the area of finances? What is asked of the local church in regards to these 5 dimensions of flourishing people? We at Barna are going to be releasing a lot on these 5 things over the next couple of months, because we believe that this is very important for the church now and beyond. So you're kind of getting a sneak peek into these 5 dimensions. But I wanted to just lay that before you. As strategists and as consultants, let's call our people higher. Let's call pastors higher and get them to shepherd all 5 of these dimensions, not just the faith dimension, right? We want to stretch ourselves. So the second thing that I would argue, and Barna data suggests that we need to see clearly, is the next generation. As of the most recent data that we have collected, 64% of children who are raised in the church walk away from the church when they enter adulthood. 64%. That came from David Kinnaman, our president, his book, Faith for Exiles. 64%. We have got to do better. So Kim asked me, and Noonday asked me to tell you about this cohort that we are launching March 1st called Reaching Gen Z. Essentially, it's a learning cohort, and you're welcome to go to barna.com/collab to learn more, where we are going to be talking about how to effectively reach Gen Z, and we're going to be crafting personalized, specialized, customized ministry plans so that we can best serve the next generation. We want to grow to understand them and learn them so we can best serve them. So I want to tell you about this Reaching Gen Z cohort, but more importantly than our cohort, honestly, I'm not here to sell you a product. I am here to encourage you to think about next generation engagement strategy. I'm going to go so far as to say every church that you interact with, we need to be asking them, what is your next generation engagement strategy? So when we say next generation, we are talking about Gen Z. Again, let me remind you, millennials are age 23 through about 36. So everybody in our colleges and our university ministries, our high school ministries, our middle school ministries, they are Gen Z. We recently released a report on the Gen Z generation called Gen Z Volume 2. It's the second piece of work that we've done on this generation. And one of the big things that we discovered is that the Gen Z generation looks, acts, thinks, behaves very differently than millennials. We cannot use and apply